So Chiara, it's really nice to meet you one more time after more than a year since the last time that we spoke. Chiara is the COO and the co-founder of Reworth. And what are the changes that you've seen for the last time that we spoke till now? One of them would be the office, of course. That last year we were talking, you at your place, me at my place, and you were working fully remote but with no office. Yes. So what are the most important changes that you've seen on this last year in Reworth?
Of course. So first of all, thank you so much, Andrea, for having me again. It's really a pleasure to be talking to you after more than a year. So a lot of things obviously have changed or more have evolved. So one of the first things, like you mentioned, the office. So we are still a 100% remote company because for us it's really important to be able to employ the best talents regardless of where they are living. But what we noticed is that now being 40 people, and before when we started and when I was talking to you, we were about 10 people, if I remember correctly, is that for some specific things, it's really good to have an office space so people can come in, do workshops, speak in person, and also build a culture. So what we decided is to do an experiment. Actually, we started this month having an office space and see how it's going. And for the moment, it has been really well, but we do not force people to come to the office. So our point is that we really want everyone to be as productive as they are. So if it's better for them to be at home, working from their home space, and from time to time come to the office whenever they need, they can come. But it's never forced, and for us it's really important that they're the most productive possible. But then I must say that it's great to be back at the office from time to time and see people and meet people in person. So I really appreciate that change. So we're going to see how it goes, but for the moment has been really positive. Then in terms of other things that I can think about that changed, that evolved in Reworth is the part of hiring. Obviously that we were 10 people, and thanks to our seed round that we raised $3 million US in October 2021, so a bit more than 6 months ago, we have been able to employ more people and evolve our product and really focus on getting the best talent and also making our products better. So what we have been really focusing on is product market fit and understanding the needs from both financial institutions and merchants. So our business model is still based on cashback. So what we do is that we really leverage cashback based on data analytics. So on the financial institution side, what we really realized talking to them and over this past year when we started implementing cashback is that the banks and financial institutions do not know how to use their data, or they don't use it in a very optimal way. And they have a difficult time understanding, predicting, and influencing customer behavior. So what we have seen and receiving a lot of transactional information from the banks, we are able to help them really offer hyper-personalized offers. Meaning that we integrate with the banks and they have a dynamic directory, as we call it, where they can have offers that are really relevant for the user. Meaning you, Andrea, you love eating pizzas every Friday. So you're
giving my
your
personal advantage.
Your secrets. So Andrea loves eating pizzas on Friday afternoon. So you're gonna get offers based on your purchasing behavior. So we're going to send you, the bank's going to send you hey, go and check out these restaurants, pizza restaurants that are around your area, and they're really personalized to you. So you won't get a directory of cashback reward offers that are in Monterey or random stuff that you don't eat. For example, if you don't eat Chinese food, you wouldn't get that type of offers because it's really data driven for you. Whereas the opposite, if I I don't know, buying clothes, I would get offers based on clothes. So it's really based on your purchasing behavior and your location. And on the merchant side, what we've noticed is that they don't really use the data and don't know how to leverage it. So what we created is this dashboard where really they get a lot of data analytics and they can understand where and in which moment they should be giving a cashback offer, especially if you have different venues. For example, this venue, it would be great for you to give an offer at this time because otherwise your competitor is gonna give one, or the person's gonna go to the other business. So as an example, is you, Andrea, if you you have this habit of going to the supermarket and then you go to the cinema. So we can identify, oh, Andrea loves going to the supermarket and going to the cinema. Why don't you, as the cinema, give an offer straight after Andrea going to the supermarket, so we can really...
So she goes directly to
that cinema. Exactly. So that's what we're working on now. Like, our vision, obviously, is that we're really creating this API infrastructure and this infrastructure play where we're focusing now on cashback to really leverage the use of data and hyper-personalization. But then at the end of the day, we want to create this infrastructure where players such as we can add buy now, pay later, crypto, access as well, fraud prevention, etc. So we can really help the ecosystem and help everyone at the end of the day make better business solutions.
Okay, so
a lot of
tons of evolution on Reworth and tons of changes in a way. But I would like to know, because like going point like one-on-one of what you mentioned, the first one would be about the office. Was it hard to get that, like what you felt about coming to an office of it feels like home, it feels like another place where you go rather than just your home? Was it hard for some people at your team to understand?
Yes, so it was like the message is quite controversial in a sense, because we say, hey, we are 100% remote, but we have an office and you should come from time to time. So the idea is not, like I mentioned, to force people to come to the office, but we want to give this option so people have a space where they can gather. And what we've seen is that obviously people don't come every day. That's a fact. Like, people don't want to come every day. But for certain topics, they like meeting in people and then going out for beers after work or having dinner, etc. And I think it has helped a lot in the sense of that we are not doing this hybrid mode where you have to come 2 days a week, and then it's
just
really
come when you want.
Whenever you want, if you need to come. So I think that the message has helped quite a lot, and especially people when they travel from other countries. If we have, like, for example, a product manager that's in Colombia, when he comes to Mexico City, he doesn't want to be sitting in his hotel working or in a coffee shop, so he can come to the office and meet us and talk with us. So I try to go almost every day to the office so I can really have this relationship with people. And from a founder's perspective, for me, it's really important to have that relationship with people, and it's true that having an office space makes a huge difference because you start talking about other things, not like when you're having a video call.
To make it more personal.
Exactly.
To get to know really like your people.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so that was one point. The other one was, and this is because I know you personally, and I know like how's it been in that like transition. But how was it for you, like the seed round? Like going to seed round, when we first spoke, I don't think we ever mentioned about seed round.
Yeah, 100%.
So how was it like for you, like to get to that position where, okay, we're gonna go to the round?
I think we were well prepared in the sense that I think a lot of startups, what they do is that they don't understand how fast you need to grow after a seed round because you need to prove your valuation. So we had already this mindset of like, we're going to start employing people before because we know that the moment we get the funding, we'll have to grow really fast. And it's very difficult, and especially back in that time, like the competitive landscape in terms of like also hiring people was extremely difficult. I remember that we're struggling for getting a product manager. I thought it would take us a month to get, but like it took us 3 months. Same partnership, like it was like really difficult. So I think we were in a good position in that, like ahead of the game. Obviously there were some difficulties, but it was how do we scale our company and how we can focus. Because what I realized, and that was one of the learnings I had once we raised the seed round, is that we're like, amazing, like we can do so many things. Now we're a big team, and we started going a bit all over the place and had a lot of ideas on what we could do, and we're starting losing focus. And now what we really are doing is focusing back, okay, what are we going to focus on right now, and what is our core product, and then we go evolving step by step and not go like crazy and have 10 million ideas, because otherwise you just do a lot of things. And another thing that I remember I was mentioning in the podcast is that we said we were going to expand to other countries. It stood in the pipeline, but again, like we realized that at the end of the day, it's really important to focus first on the market. And Mexico is going really well, and we're going to focus all our efforts now in Mexico, and the idea is that beginning of next year, we start expanding to Brazil and Colombia, which are the markets that make more sense, and not start looking all over the place and being a bit, yeah.
And how is it like for the three of you guys, well, for like the founders? Because I think you have like different personalities.
Yeah.
And what you just said, I think it's super important because you have to focus on what you have to do. Because
Exactly.
you can go all over the place and just have tons of ideas, and one wants to go to one place and the other one wants to go to the other place. How did you manage to like focus on, okay, we have to do this?
Yeah. So mostly like our CEO, Raphael, is really innovative in a way, and he gets always those crazy ideas. And like he always tells us, and I love it because he always says like, I come with the crazy ideas and you need to make it happen. And we're like, okay, so at the beginning we're always trying to make it happen, but then, I mean, we sat down really and we said like what we do is we do a management meeting every quarter. Okay. We sit down and we see realistically what we achieved. Mm-hmm. Like we see, okay, the goals we set for this quarter, did we achieve them, yes or no? And why didn't we achieve them? The why is very important because many times it's like, well, this wasn't our focus. And this didn't make sense for the financial institutions, and this didn't make sense for the merchants. So coming back to that is really understanding what your clients need at the end of the day. And maybe you're building something that you think they need it, and then you realize that, oh, maybe it's not exactly what they need right now. So that's how we realized that, okay, we need to focus on certain things. And I think, especially like in the past year, starting beginning of 2022, we really realized, okay, we need to understand more our customer, we need to work on that, and based on that, we can do the focus plan. And not, and whenever there's a crazy idea that comes from either Raphael or one of the employees or whatever, they come with their ideas, we have to tell them no. And it's very difficult to say no because you're like, at the moment, even I'm like, wow, this is a great idea.
I want to do it because it sounds...
Exactly. But you have to be able to say no and put it in the backlog and then see what you can do later on.
Do you think that you've changed, or like you said, like minutes ago, did you evolve in something like different? Like when you see your parents, because they're in another country, when they see you, do they see like something really different with what you were 1 year? Or do you feel like you changed in something like that? Like for example, if you said, no, like 1 year I was this way and right now I'm totally opposite because...
Yeah, I think two things. One, I think it was also because of COVID and the pandemic situation, and I wasn't really focusing on networking and getting to know other founders or other like business people or the ecosystem in general. So what I changed drastically, and for me it was a year ago, I was so focused on operations and I was like, I need to focus on operations, we need to move forward. But what I realized is that going back a bit to like meeting other people, having coffees with founders, going to networking events, I realized how important it is and how you can learn so much from other people. And I was kind of neglecting that part because I was thinking like, I prefer executing what I need to do on my computer.
Because it's your personality a little
exactly.
bit. Like your personality is it's more on that side.
Exactly. So for me, it didn't make sense, and now I really realized, and it really opened my mind and opened like also the ways that I could be doing things and learning from other founders. And the second thing is personal, like mental health as well, and personal well-being, because when you start a startup, obviously you're so into it, you're so focused on operations, you're working day and night, and especially with COVID, you couldn't go out, so it was very in my house, like working all the time.
You don't have time for other things.
You don't have time for other things, and one important thing that I've started doing, especially starting this new year, was like I really need to set some times for myself and also put personal challenges, because for me, building a company and a startup, obviously it's a huge challenge. But I didn't have any personal challenges, how to challenge myself. And one of the things I did, and as I mentioned to you, is I put this challenge of I want to run a half marathon when I used to hate running.
You're a fan because I would run for my life.
Exactly. So I'm doing it and I'm sticking to the plan, and this is a challenge that I'm doing myself. And also we transmitted that to the company because it's very easy to be overwhelmed. So for example, Rafael and Joaquin, which have children, they put in their calendars like, hey, from 1 to 3, I'm out because I'm with my children. So they put it in their calendars, and that really helped us as well, like
transparency,
and say, hey, at this time I'm not available unless it's urgent. Obviously, you can call me, but really have these times where you can focus on yourself and your family and do things also for your mental well-being. And
yes, I think what you just said is way important, because you could just tell like your team, like, I'm not available.
Yeah.
But just to be honest to them, and just if you would be training for your marathon, just say like, I won't be available from 9 till 10, 11. It's because I'm doing my thing.
Exactly.
You know, and that gives also like your team the opportunity to be honest with you and to be transparent. And, you know, I don't know, I'm just taking my dog out for a walk.
Exactly.
It's not bad, because it's like a balance between life and work.
And this is for me an important point, because I have this perception of like, why do we separate life from work? Like for me, it's like a whole thing. Like your work, it's such a big part of your life, and you should be able to combine both and be happy with both, and not hiding stuff that you do, because at the end of the day, we're all humans, and we all know that you have kids, you have whatever, like you want to take out your dog, of course your dog needs to go out. And it's fair, and that's why we're working a lot on one of our core values in Reworth is really transparency, and how we can start from the founders, obviously, and like bottom down, like how can we transmit that and really be transparent on what we're doing, and so that people can also do the same and not feel like ashamed or whatever because they can't take a meeting or can't take a call or can't do this right now. Like this, for us, it's totally normal, and we implemented that in Reworth.
Okay, something I was really interested in what you just mentioned is about the marathon. And running, because for me, like running is something that I would never have on top of mind on exercising. And I know you've run before and you have like this background, but not just going to a marathon that intense. How's it been for you? Like, and you just mentioned it's all about also the mindset.
100%.
How was it for you? Because it's not that easy. Like for starters, just to start running. But how's it been for you in this last months?
I see it a lot as building a startup at the end of the day, because you're gonna have great times and you're gonna have bad times. It's a roller coaster, and it's really not something easy to do, because I, like my background in running is that I used to run probably from time to time 5 kilometers tops. But my mom always loved running, so I thought it was really interesting, and I didn't understand why I didn't like running, because also the point was that I was doing it bad.
Okay,
so
like
for
bad
me,
with breathing or?
Bad in general, that I was only running 30 minutes, fast as I could, and that's it, you know, and what I saw...
like running for
like 30 minutes, and that was my challenge, like, okay, I need to run fast. But then it's like in a startup, you need to start experimenting different things.
Okay.
Because if you just stay with the same thing, you're not going to evolve. So I started this Nike application where they do a 12 weeks of like training for running, and you start with, again, small, like 5 kilometers, and then other types of trainings. And then I started appreciating more, and the more I was going for it, the more I liked running. And your body, it's crazy. Like I realized that your body gets used to it really, really fast. And for me, it was a lot about dedication. Same as working or building a startup, you need to be 100% dedicated and you need to be ambitious. In my life, I never thought I would be able to run a half marathon, like never. And I was like, why not? I could try it. Maybe I fail, maybe it works out. And I managed to get to it. But it is something where you need a lot of persistence, dedication, and obviously you can have moments where you do a terrible run and you hate it, and I never want to go back again. Same like, I hate it, I'm going to stop. But then you just need to keep going, and you have good and bad moments.
But since the moment you started, like just fully, like your mindset was fully on, okay, I want to run because I want to try this, I want to do this. Because I'm asking because I think the first time I tried, I was like dying. I was like 5 minutes, and it was like, no, like this is not for me. I don't like doing this. I don't like running, like breathing. I didn't enjoy it that much. It was just like probably like literally 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So I wasn't really able to really enjoy what maybe other people do. But maybe it was also like my mindset that, no, you're not enjoying this. Let's go move to other exercise, whatever. Did you enjoy it like the first
No, I hated
minutes.
it. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting because I know you right now you love running and you're going to the other marathon. Did you what did you feel?
No, the first times, and especially running in Mexico City is not like I'm from Switzerland, so I have fresh air, like everything, like running. There's no traffic. It's great, but here in Mexico City it was extremely difficult.
Okay.
I remember I was doing this 15-minute run, and I was like, how the heck am I going to run for hours if I can't even run 15 minutes?
Where did you start running?
In Mexico City.
Where in Mexico City?
In La del Valle. So I used to just go running in the parks and then come back to my house. But it was difficult because also you don't have like a really nice place to run. You're running on the streets and then right into the park. Exactly. So you have to stop. Now I'm fortunate because I live closer to a park, so I can be running around the park. But it's really a question of mindset and starting something. Anything in your life is always difficult. Starting something from zero, you need dedication and you need to be able to force yourself at the beginning. It's going to be difficult, and the point is that it's unknown as well. You don't know until when you're going to be able to get to it, And it's like same building a startup. You don't know what you're gonna achieve. You have this in mind. You have this crazy idea in mind.
You have to figure it out
and you need to figure it out in the way.
And you have, right now, I can see that you have two passions in your life. That would be running and Reworth.
Yeah.
Do you have anything other else, for your passion? Or right now, there are two major important things. It's not that it's one more than the other, but do you have anything that you feel the same way?
I think I've been much more involved in reading as well. I think that I hadn't been in the past years because I was really involved in Reworth and other topics, and I didn't take the time to do so. And I left it a bit on the side. And now I realize that whenever I read a book or a few chapters of a book, I learn so much. So I think reading and also traveling. Traveling for me has always been very important. I have a background in hospitality. I know it's been difficult also with COVID, but
but you managed to travel.
I managed. Yes, I was very lucky to be able to travel to different countries, also work-wise. So I hope this is going to keep continuing in Reworth because at the end of the day, we're hoping to expand, or we are going to expand in other countries. So it always has been a passion, and I keep doing it.
And you just mentioned how your passion in running or just running is just like building a startup. What similarities do you see? More than just starting to build something and just figuring out, because at the end of the day, I think we're running with on your side. It's also been because you have other people that has the same interest on running.
100%.
So it's just like building a startup, and what you said about networking, that you have other people talking about building a company, and right now it's someone else talking to you about what's running, what you can enjoy about running. What are the main things that you can see that are between building a company and a passion that you may have?
Totally. So for me, it always starts with curiosity. So I'm someone who's very, very curious about things and trying out new things and experimenting. So for me, when I started Reworth, I've never been the person that absolutely wants to be an entrepreneur. I had it in mind, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I want to build my own company. Then I started speaking to Raphael, and he had a startup. I became more and more interested in the idea of building a company, and especially the idea behind Reworth, because for me it's a great idea and I saw a lot of potential, and that's why I joined. I joined as a co-founder, and it was same with running. So I was talking with people, and I was like, wow, how can they run for such a long period of time? And for me it's the same. How can you build a company and become $1 billion company? For me it sounds like
insane,
crazy. Exactly. So for me the point was that if you don't try, you don't know. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try Reworth, we're going to see how it goes. We're going to build a company. If it goes to pot, it goes to pot. If it goes great, it goes amazing. And I'm going to put all my efforts for it to go. Same with running. I was like, I'm going to try it. And if I hate it, if I don't, it doesn't work out, and I stop doing it. So these are the two similarities I see. And then it's very important that in both cases, you have to be very ambitious. Because if you don't have a goal that's ambitious, it's not going to work. Because if you say, okay, I usually run 5K, I'm going to run 6K. Okay, but you need to think even more and have a
like
bigger vision. Exactly. Same with building a startup. I'm not going to say like, hey, I'm doing this cashback reward program and that's it. Like I need to think like longer term what I'm gonna do next. Exactly. So that's the mindset.
And do you have something in mind? Like, let's say we could fast forward.
Yes.
1 year from now. And let's
another podcast.
Like, imagine we have like Rafa here,
yeah.
and we have Joaquin here, and it's you. And we're having just like the meeting that you say you have, and it's going tons of ideas.
Yeah.
Do you think you could mention like some idea that maybe on your mind could be something you would want to do with Reworth?
Yeah, so I think first what is really important is first of all to expand to other countries. I would love to be really a global company at the end of the day, because what we're doing now here in Mexico, we saw that they had a lot of impact both for financial institutions, for merchants, and also the customer. Then the idea is really working with data and making everything and help businesses make better decisions at the end of the day. So in terms of product per se, I think one big topic in Latin America, from my perspective, maybe Joaquin and Rafa are going to say something different.
Joaquin is going to vote otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Is all the question around fraud and credit. So one big topic is that there's a lot of fraud. Mexico and Latin America in general have a lot of fraud. And also it's very difficult from a perspective of like people that don't have access to banking to get credit.
Right.
Because nowadays, like to get a credit, you need to have already a history in credit, like having used credit and be able to pay back your debts. And this is a huge problem still to be tackled here in Mexico and in Latin America. So for me, it would be to be help banks and also financial institutions to be able to give that access to people and limit fraud. Those would be the two big topics.
I think something like really important is that you as a co-founder, and I remember that when we spoke about what happened with the seed round, is that we were talking at a place, at a restaurant, and you told me like, it's crazy. Like 1 week ago, I was chilling at my place, and right now I have like tons of LinkedIn messages, tons of people like coming and telling me they want to interview me. I think what it's important is like the voice that you have through others, like this. I don't want to say like power, but because it's not power, it's just like the opportunity to tell what you have or what you could tell other people what's best, or like your advice to other people. I remember something that you told me probably was 1 year ago, I don't know, and you mentioned about like how was, and I know this is different because we're in Mexico, and Mexico. We're not very good when it comes to finance education and neither like health education. And we were talking about health, and so I'm like, it's crazy. Like people don't have this information about health, and it's not their priority. And since we spoke about that, I think I had like tons of months without having like a fully checkup, like a general checkup. And I was like, no, I have to do it because it's important.
100%.
What do you think? Because you've been in tons of talks, in talks of, in tons of podcasts.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, it's the most important thing to you to tell other people about your personal, I don't know, like your guidance to others.
For me, at the end of the day, it's about sharing my experiences, sharing my failures and sharing my good sides and how I can help people. For me, like being in these webinars, podcasts, etc., of course, is for promoting Reworth. That's I'm not going to lie about it. But the most important as well is for me to give advice to people, because I've learned so much from other founders, and also I educate myself through listening to podcasts, reading, listening to webinars, and I would like to be that figure where someone could say, hey, thanks to this podcast, I realized this, and it gave me this great idea. This is for me the most important: educate people and help people the way I can, based on my experience and based on my failures and also the wins I had.
Have you had like someone, like just come to you or reach you and tell you like, oh, this has happened because I heard you, or this, you did this to me. It doesn't have to be someone maybe on the outside. It could be someone at your company. But have you experienced that? Like that?
Yes, in general terms, people often refer, like especially on LinkedIn, whenever they see an article, even friends, they're like, oh, I read your article, this was great advice. Mm-hmm. Even my mom, and for me, my mom is my role model. Like, how could you learn from me? So that's funny. But yeah, in general terms, people do reach out to me, and for me, it's important that it's not only the good things. I also think that's what I would love from people, because usually when people come to you is to say, oh, I saw this article, it was amazing, or I listened to this podcast. But for me, and I always want to ask them, like, hey, but what would you improve? Yeah, what could I do better?
And we spoke about this, I think, on the podcast, that we normally ask, like, for feedback.
Yeah.
But few people are really ready for the feedback. And I also remember that we talked about, like, how do you give feedback to people in Mexico, and how do you give feedback to other people in other countries?
For me, feedback, it's a way to improve. So every feedback session I get, for the good, for the bad, for me, it's an opportunity to improve. And again, for us in Reworth, for example, is that really we implemented feedback for them, number one, for us to have this transparency culture. Like, for us, it's very important to be transparent and say the things and be direct. Because at the end of the day, if we just don't say anything and we don't give the feedback, is that you're never going to improve.
Do you have, like, on top of mind, like the worst feedback, or not the worst feedback, like the hardest feedback you've ever received? I could start so you can.
I can think.
Like, for me, like, I've heard people tell me, like, you're way too emotional, and when someone tells you, like, yes, maybe your feedback, you go through your emotions, and then you chill, and then you go to rational. And I've been working on changing, like, my direct answer to feedback, rather than going to something emotional, to just saying, okay, they're telling me this because not they're trying to harm me, or not because they don't like me. It's because they're telling me because they want me to be better.
Yeah. We do a lot of feedback sessions also, especially between the co-founders. And I don't know if it was the most difficult, but it's more like a reality check. It was, it's like, okay, I need to get my shit together. So there are several, but one that really made me realize and improve is, like I was mentioning before, is this part of, like, being much more involved with all the founders and being involved in the ecosystem. Like, for me, that was like, and for me, it's difficult. Like,
it came from Rafa.
It came from Rafa. So he was like, no, I need to go more. I'm going to do you 10 million intros. And I'm like, I don't have time to go drink coffees with other people.
But you had time.
Exactly. You don't prioritize. And that was the thing. And that's where I realized I need to prioritize better my time and delegate more. And that was for me a reality check, because my personality is like, I like being really into the day-to-day, be with my team, like, more in this comfortable part, and doing networking events, especially like going alone to networks and getting out of the conference, or doing webinars, talking in front of people. It wasn't something easy for me to do. Like, it's something I've learned doing, but for me it was like a reality check.
But you're really good at it, because I remember that you had, I don't know, what was it? The one that you had, like, in France?
In Switzerland, the one where I had to. Yeah, it was in Switzerland.
There were, like, tons of women, like 5 women, and you were there.
Ah, no, that one, it was in France. It was Paris. Yeah, exactly.
And then you were, like, so nervous, and I saw it, and you told me, like, the first thing you told me, like, please watch me and tell me feedback.
If it's okay.
And I saw it, I was like, you look super chill. Like, it looks like you know what you're saying, because you know what you're saying.
No, of course, and this is
what you're a hard self-critic to yourself. You're a super critic.
Yeah.
But you're way better than you. I think that, your standards are super high for yourself.
Yes, and that's why I think, and I know this is something I need to improve as well. That's really good feedback. That I did too.
Well, that wasn't meant to be feedback. But I every time that you had, like, a podcast or something, like, I remember that you sent me, like, your links, and I'm like, it sounds it sounds really someone who knows what they're talking about their business, about the company, about what they're doing, where they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's different, and it's good because it gets you where you are right now, like your standards.
Exactly. And this is the thing, is having high standards for yourself and also for your company is going to make you grow. And if I don't put these standards and I just go to an event or whatever, I think everything's going to be fine and I'm going to ace it, well, I'm not going to get out of my comfort zone. And this is for me very important. Every day I try to get out of my comfort zone, and I know for me it's difficult to give talks in front of 200 people and stuff like that.
It doesn't look like that.
And it doesn't look like that because I've trained myself and I know what I'm going to say. I'm prepared for these kinds of conversations. But then the thing is that you learn along the way. You learn that after a while that anything you say, and I hope it's true, it's going to be valuable because every one of us in the world have a certain knowledge that someone else probably doesn't have. So this is the point of view that I changed. Instead of thinking like, I'm going to say something and it's not going to be valuable, like, of course. And if it's not valuable, the person's going to cut you off and is going to stop listening to your podcast.
And it starts when, like, since you're maybe like 5 years old, 10 years old, or you're like going through high school and you're thinking about asking a question to your teacher.
Exactly.
And thinking everyone else is going to think I'm stupid. Yeah, maybe 90% is going to think you're stupid, but maybe the other 10% someone is going to get really the information they need because of your question that may sound stupid for the other.
Exactly, and what we've implemented in Reworth, which has been really interesting for us, is that we know that people are afraid, especially like personalities that are more introverted, not necessarily want to talk in front of everyone, and we understand it. So what we've started doing is that in our all hands that we do every 2 weeks, we ask them to fill in a form if they want, where they can ask anonymous questions.
Oh, that's so good.
So that you don't
feel comfortable of asking whatever they want to ask.
So we check the question, we answer, and we don't care who it is, and so that they feel like to be asked to ask the question.
And how has been the response on that?
Very good. Like we had really good questions as well, and ideas and other things where people don't necessarily want to ask and want to ask the founders, want to ask the company in general, and we've got really good questions.
One thing that I think is super important is because I would think, and maybe it's because I used to work at companies that were like, you have to do this in order to have this approval. Like, if I would ask a question and the manager would know that I would ask the question, maybe it would hold it against me.
Yeah.
And maybe it would backfire. So I'd rather have no question. I'd rather not have. I'd rather be in my place, be in my comfort zone, and maybe it's gonna go with the flow, and someone's gonna answer that question, or maybe you're gonna have, I don't know, that answer eventually,
And that's 100% the culture you're building.
Yeah.
If you have a culture where people are scared to ask questions,
it's wrong.
It's already something.
Well, is that wrong?
I don't think it's wrong. I think it's different types of cultures you want to build. I don't judge. Like, I know for us, like, our culture is not like that. We want everyone to feel comfortable, to have ownership, to feel accountable, and really feel at ease to ask questions and give feedback and all of that. It's difficult to build because also different cultures manage these types of subjects differently. But it's all about starting from the founders. If you're already like transparent and you're able to answer questions, and what I always say to people is like, hey, if you have any question, if you have anything, and even the most simple question,
just go for it.
Like, there's no problem. Like, our business model at the end of the day is something as well complex. Like, if you don't get it, just ask me. I'm never gonna.
You're not gonna judge.
I'm not gonna judge them.
Exactly. Whatever you're telling them.
And what I understand and my perspective is that I know that I probably know more and I have more information, and for me it's easier to understand. Whereas people don't have all the knowledge that we had since 2 years ago when we started the business.
Like the background and
exactly
the reason why you built the company, so you can answer easily to those questions.
We have much more knowledge, and it's normal. So for me, there's no stupid question, and if they don't ask it, for me, it's stupid. Like, you should ask it.
That's right. Exactly. That would be a quote. And okay, I think I already asked this about the changes that you could see on the future for Reworth. But is there anything else that comes on your mind that could be maybe worth sharing about Reworth?
So in terms of Reworth, like, we're very, very ambitious, like I already mentioned. And in terms of what we see for the future is, like I mentioned, is really helping everyone make better business decisions, We really want to grow our team as well. At the moment, we're 40 people, but we're hoping to grow in Latin America and beyond Latin America.
Are you scared of that growth?
I'm not scared, I'm excited.
Yeah, because you would probably have to either move or just spend like tons of time in
the country. Of course. No, I love traveling, so for me it's no problem at all. I love discovering new cultures. I've never been to Brazil or Colombia, so for me it would be a great...
Are you training your language?
Not yet, I have to. That would be my new passion, like learning a new language. But in general terms, no, really, really excited for what has to come. And an advice I could give to anyone is that don't be scared, try whatever you can to achieve your dreams, and don't be scared of difficulty because it's always going to be there. You don't get to anywhere if things are not difficult. So challenge yourself on a constant basis, and it will help you and everyone to grow.
Well, thank you very much, Chiara. I
Thanks
love
so much.
spending time with you.
Me
I love
too.
talking with you. And I think you've shared tons of important things to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you for the wine. It was a pleasure. Thank you.